Today I want to talk about the disconnect for people between console gaming and PC gaming. And let's go back and look a little bit at the history of both. So for decades now, we have had games on dedicated devices we call consoles, and then we've had games on PC. Back in the 80s and 90s, they tended to be separate libraries of games developed by different people, marketed in different places. You know, computer games would be sold in computer stores, whereas console games would be sold in toy stores and game stores. They were very different things. And of course, as PCs and various types of computers moved forward with technology, we had completely different architectures. We went from things like, you know, the Amiga, for example, and things like the Commodore 64, and I had an Atom family computer, which was a Coleco computer back in the day before I had my first DOS computer. You know, there was so many different architectures and so many different ways with PC gaming that it became known as kind of an enthusiast sport, if you will. PC gaming was always rather difficult to set up the games and get them running, because every time a new game came out, it maybe required a new sound card or a better video card. You know, back in the 90s especially, things were moving forward so fast that even 6 months after you bought a computer, you may encounter a brand new game that required some new technology, something, you know, and they were coming on multiple floppy disks or multiple CDs, for example, that required installing and patches and serial keys, and then you had to go in the settings and tailor it for the resolution of your monitor and the strength of your video card and which audio settings you wanted, and were you wearing headphones or did you have speakers? There was so many variables in PC gaming that it really made a lot of people shy away from it. And the funny thing is, you know, the rise of consoles, starting with, you know, I guess Atari, but arguably the NES is where it really caught hold and became mainstream. You would just buy this box. You would buy a box, you would plug it into your TV, you plug a cartridge in, and it just played. There were no problems. Of course, even back in those days, people would point to PC and say the PC games look better, they run better. In some cases, not always, if you had an older PC or something. But the simplicity of being able to purchase a game, stick it in your console, grab the controller, and just play really won over a lot of people's hearts. And that has really carried forward for a long, long time, from NES, Super NES, moving into the N64, the PS1 with CDs, and you know, find fantastic games like Final Fantasy VII or Parasite Eve, where you have maybe multiple discs, but you just pop it in, and when it tells you to change discs, you take one out, put the next one in, continue playing, no settings, no tweaking, nothing. But as we move towards more modern gaming, the two are becoming closer and closer and closer. During the PS4 generation and now in the PS5 generation, both the Xbox and Sony consoles are based on x86 architecture, and that is PC architecture. These are basically mini custom PCs in a box that you can plug in and put under your TV. However, the console games are starting to pick up a lot of cues from the PC market, where we're starting to get things like performance modes and fidelity modes, and you have all kinds of settings where you can turn on or off ray tracing, and it's getting to the point now where consumers that don't really understand all that sort of thing are just going with whatever default experience the game loads up with, and maybe not being able to grasp you know, the best of what the game has to offer for their particular situation. PC, on the other hand, has been moving more towards the console experience with things like the Steam Deck here, for example, where I can just pick up my Steam Deck, I can purchase a game, download the game, and play the game. with very little in the way of tweaking or settings required. I have like 200 games in Steam. Most of them I have had installed and running. Most of them run fantastic on the Steam Deck, and I have had to do almost nothing to make any of them run. I think out of the, nearly 200 games that I have tested on the Steam Deck, I might have had to toggle a setting for like an on-screen keyboard or something, maybe 3 or 4 times. I may have had to choose a Proton layer back in the day when the Steam Deck was brand new. I have not had to touch Proton settings for any game since like the first few months that the Steam Deck, since it came out. And looking at PC, for example, where everything is native, people tend to be afraid of the idea that, well, I want to sit on my couch with a controller. Guess what? I have an Xbox controller hooked up to my PC, and I can sit over there on the couch. I can plug my PC into my 60-inch TV and just have it as one of my HDMI inputs. I can control Steam in big picture mode with my Xbox controller. And, these two things are not as dissimilar as they used to be. And the point of this video is that, so many people argue about the price of these consoles going up and up and up. For the first time in history, we have seen 3+ years into a console's lifespan that in some regions the price of the PS5 has gone up, not down. Typically, as parts would become more plentiful and cheaper for a console, the price would come down. Maybe it would get a $50 discount a couple of years down the line, or maybe it would be bundled with a game to give you better value or something. And that just has not been happening this generation at all. Even with the Nintendo Switch, we're seeing 8 years into the Switch's lifespan that these things are holding their price. And even at things like Black Friday, you would not see much of a discount, which really leads people to start thinking about the PC ecosystem. And really, with the news now of Sony's PS5 Pro potentially coming in at $650 to $700 USD, how much more money would someone have to spend to equal or exceed that level of graphics and performance with a PC? Certainly probably a little bit more. One of the things consoles do well is, bring the price down. But a PC can do so much more for you than a console. So if it costs a little bit more, it's not really a net loss because you've gained other functionalities that you can use as well. And in this day and age, with something like the Steam Deck, being able to be sold for like $400, give or take, US, a little bit more for the higher packages that you might choose with better storage and that sort of thing. But the point that I'm getting at here is the divide between a half-decent PC. I have, right now, a 3060 Acer Predator Helios laptop. It has a 3060 graphics card in it, and it runs everything that I can throw at it. 3060 is not the greatest card in the world. It's pretty mid to low, to be honest with you. It's definitely the entry level of the good stuff, and I can play anything that I throw at it. Any of the newest games, Baldur's Gate 3, Elden Ring, Cyberpunk 2077. I mean, that's not all that new anymore, but it is a pretty graphically intensive game, and I can play all these games at pretty high frame rates, in many cases, higher frame rates than my consoles. I don't have to do anything to these games. I mean, there are settings tabs that you can go into, just like on the console, where you can choose to raise or lower the resolution, or raise or lower the graphic detail, the textures, things like that. But the thing that people don't understand is you really don't have to do that anymore. It really struck me when I was using the Microsoft app, I was paying for Game Pass Ultimate, which gave me access to Game Pass PC, which is a fantastic product, by the way, and I really enjoyed playing Forza Horizon 5 and Microsoft Flight Simulator on my computer. And when you load those games for the first time, Microsoft takes like 10 minutes to scan your computer, check all your different settings, check your RAM, check your graphics card, and it will optimize the game automatically without even asking you and give you the best settings for your computer. You don't even have to do anything except sit there and wait while it does its thing. And then you're playing the best version of the game possible. Now, Steam doesn't do that. You do have to tweak a few settings here and there if you want the absolute best balance of power and performance to playability. But most of these games, as they boot up in their default setting these days, run just fine, especially when you're looking at games that you would be playing on a console anyway. I don't tend to, sorry, my nose is itchy. I don't tend to play a lot of PC exclusive games on my computer. I tend to play console games that have been ported to computer, and I'm expecting these games to run at 30 or 60 frames per second. So if I can get a 60 frames per second experience on the PC with zero tweaking, I'm not losing out on anything. And if I do feel like tweaking, I can absolutely go in and adjust a couple of sliders. But the moral to this story, the point of this video, is that so many people are afraid of dipping their toe into the PC ecosystem because they think it's complicated, because they think they're going to deal with games crashing and games having, you know, game-breaking bugs, and there's going to be all kinds of issues with video card drivers and all this kind of stuff. And I'm here to tell you, all of that stuff is a thing of the past. You buy a computer, you set it up, you install whatever you need to install, you purchase a game, you download it, and you just play it. I mean, if you want to tweak a little bit, you can, but 99% of the time, you're getting the same experience on PC that you would on a console, which is you push the play button, you grab your Xbox controller or whatever controller you want to use, because you can even use a PS5 DualSense controller on PC. You can use a Nintendo Pro controller from the Switch. You can use third-party like 8BitDo controllers. Anything you want. The sky is the limit on PC, and it is easier than it has ever been. To the point where, as I said, with consoles becoming more like PCs, the divide between the two is getting so narrow that there's really not much reason to choose one over the other except price and performance, I guess, which at the upper end, you are always going to get better frame rates, better graphics, everything is going to be better at the upper end if you have a good PC than any console, because they just can't afford to put that kind of horsepower in a $500 console. So, if you want to go out and spend $1,500, $2,000 on a pretty decent mid-range to upper mid-range PC, you're going to have a fantastic experience. And there's really no learning curve anymore, or very minimal. Nothing you couldn't learn watching a YouTube video for a few minutes just on how to install Steam, how to install your first game. There is a little bit of learning curve there, because you don't just turn on the PC and immediately insert a game disc. You do have to go to a website, but I'm sure all of us have been around computers long enough that you know how to navigate to a website, install an app, download a game, put your credit card information in to download a game from Steam or Humble Bundle or any number of Epic Games, any number of the other gaming storefronts that are out there, and it gives you so many options, so much choice. Guess what? Sony console exclusives are coming to PC. God of War's already there. Spider-Man's already there. Death Stranding's already there. Horizon Zero Dawn is already there. Microsoft, same thing. Forza Horizon 5 and 4, both there. Forza Motorsport there. Halo Infinite is there. Halo Master Chief Collection is there. You know, all of these games are available to you, and publishers are constantly bringing forward from their back catalog all kinds of games from the PS2, the PS3, the PS4, Xbox One, Xbox 360. There are tens of thousands of games all available under one roof in Steam. And if Steam's not your thing, you've got GOG, you've got Epic, you've got subscription services for Ubisoft and EA and so many more. It's endless, the opportunities and the possibilities that you have with PC. And I really don't understand anymore why people are so dedicated, rabid fanboyism for a piece of plastic. I don't understand what that PS5 underneath your TV means to you as a human being, because it does nothing for you that I can't replicate right here, and I can hook this up to my TV right there and get exactly the same, if not a better experience with a reasonably capable PC than you can with any console known to man. Anyways, thanks for listening to my crazy rant here. I hope from all of this that you will give PC a try, because it's really the answer to all the console wars. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Stay classy.